In my book, The Grift, The Downward Spiral of Black Republicans from the Party of Lincoln to the Cult of Trump, the book begins towards the end of the Civil War. And then I take you on the journey of black Republicans up until the Trump era.
Mm-hmm.
And I cover the Reconstruction era a lot.
Right, right.
And one of the things that I talk about is the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Mm-hmm.
Not 19,
Right.
1 8, 1866. Really an important part of our history because it is the very first Civil Rights Act,
Yeah.
the very first one. This is where it all begins.
Mm-hmm.
And what has disgusted me is what I've been saying for a long time is that the Republican Party, the current version of it, is coming after the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Yep.
A lot of
You've been
folks have
saying
told
that.
me, I've been saying that for years. Folks have been telling me, you're being hyperbolic. There's no way that could happen. What did the 1964 Civil Rights Act do? To make it really, really plain, it banned discrimination in public accommodations. So it was the end of Jim Crow on paper.
Mm-hmm.
It did more than that, but that's just the basics of what it did. But to be honest with you, the 1866 Civil Rights Act was actually more impactful.
Mm.
It was more powerful. What did it do? It gave you the right to own property. It gave you the right to testify in court. It basically said we can't have two sets of laws for black folks and for white folks. I mean, this
Right.
was historic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's really and it was basically for black people,
Yeah.
formerly enslaved people. There are
Mm-hmm.
some folks that have been saying, "Oh, it was just for formerly enslaved people." It was also for freed black people too, because even though you were freed, you still couldn't do many of these things, or there would be some kind of restrictions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is historic.
Yeah.
And what has disgusted me from the core of my soul, this 1866 Civil Rights Act is now being used against black people.
Ooh, child. Just like you
So
said it
this reminds me of the what happened with the Voting Rights Act in under the Bush administration.
would. Mm-hmm.
I've covered this story 1,000 times. The Bush administration, his DOJ, sued a black man
Mm.
in Mississippi named Ike Brown because he was getting so many black folks registered to vote. This was a big story. They sued him. It
Mm-hmm.
was the first time in history the Voting Rights Act was used against a black man. So check this out. This is a name everybody should know. Edward Bloom.
Mm.
He is a conservative activist,
Demon.
right? Who ended affirmative action in
Yep.
college admissions.
Mm-hmm.
He has been after affirmative action, and he was successful, and he ended it in college admissions. So he has used the 1866 Civil Rights Act to attack the Fearless Fund. What is the Fearless Fund? It's a venture capital firm that grants programs for black women business owners. So, a U.S. Federal Court of Appeals panel said that, according to Bloom's argument, was that, well, this violates the 1866 Civil Rights Act because it discriminates against white people. That this is only helping black women. It's a violation of civil rights.
Mm.
I would tell you, even the white folks back then who wrote this Civil Rights Act, because they were white folks who wrote it back then, obviously, they would be mortified by this.
Right.
they'd be like, wait, wait a minute.
Now I say what
You
now?
have a venture capital firm that doesn't depend on tax dollars, mind you.
Mm-hmm. It's
It's
private
private
funding.
donations,
Mm-hmm.
private funding. Even the good white folk be like, well, hold up. Like, what you, we literally crafted this for black people.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But I want to give a little bit of context to make sure folks understand the Civil Rights Act, right? Slavery is abolished in December of 1865 when the 13th Amendment is ratified and all that good stuff. But immediately after slavery is abolished, what do good white folks do? On a local level, they start putting in black codes
Mm.
all throughout the South.
Mm-hmm.
All these white legislators are putting in all these black codes.
Mm.
What do these black codes do? Some horrible shit. Basic, you can't sign contracts, you can't serve on juries. They had these the contracts they could sign it, the sharecropping. Um, it would have the language was you are the servant and your boss is the master. So they
Mm.
were trying to
Mm.
recreate slavery. Black
Mm-hmm.
codes stop black. You could get locked up for using alcohol, having firearms, hunting,
Mm.
fishing,
Mm.
anything.
Mm.
They were locking you up. The black codes basically said these are formerly enslaved people, or even some free black people. You don't have any rights. So
Right.
they create this Civil Rights Act of 1866. Like I
Mm.
said, does all this great stuff, allows you to serve on juries, allows you to be hopefully a full citizen. But the folks back then said, you know what, this ain't gonna be enough because these white folks are crazy. They
Yeah.
said our white brethren are crazy. Like this is a Civil Rights Act. This
Mm-hmm.
really isn't gonna at any point if they get back in power, they could overturn this shit.
Yeah.
So that's why we get the 14th Amendment. Because the
Mm.
good white folks back then didn't trust their white brethren to stand by this shit.
Yeah.
And the 14th Amendment is the first time equality, the word equality, is ever mentioned in the Constitution.
Mm.
That's the first time. And the only which means we are all equal under the law. The only except for women. And also, it doesn't include Native Americans. Ooh, child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is the first time this language is in there.
Mm.
So we only get this amendment because of the first Civil Rights Act of 1866. And now these Republicans, whether it's an 1864 abortion law or 1866 Civil Rights Act, they have an obsession with the 1860s. So
Mm-hmm.
the idea that this firm, the Fearless Fund, helping, they always say, stop depending on the government. You're lazy.
Yeah.
You're lazy. You're shit. We're trying
Mm.
to help our own.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Tim Scott, we're trying to help our own. Condoleezza Rice says, stop depending on the white man. We're trying to help our own. And you're literally using a Reconstruction Civil Rights Act. So a couple other key things that I want Reese to take it. This is not the final ruling.
Yeah.
More than likely, what the Fearless Fund will have to do is change the language and just say minority women. That might give them the loophole that they need, right? So, but then again, you never know. Because if they go to a court of appeals and it's a predominantly conservative court, a circuit that, I don't know, Trump appointed or Bush appointed, you never know. So the hope is they'll be able to find a loophole the way these insidious Republicans have found their loophole. The founder and CEO of the Fearless Fund said this in a statement to CNN, Arian Simone. I am shattered for every girl of color who has a dream but will grow up in a nation determined not to give her a shot to live it. On their behalf, we will turn the pain into purpose and fight with all our might. I want to add this too. This is part of the reason why you have said, Reese Colbert, that when you're looking for the black and black only policy,
Mm-hmm.
some folks say, why isn't there anything specific for black people? That's why I loved Obama so much, because he was crafty with it. If you say black and black only, it'll be deemed unconstitutional. And
Yeah.
this, the Fearless Fund, isn't even a policy. It isn't
It's
even
not a public
legislation.
policy. It's
It's
not a
not even a public
public
policy. So I
no.
want y'all to imagine if you had a bill like the one for debt relief for black farmers. I believe that just said minority. Republicans said this is too specific
It didn't
because you
even
can't
say
think of race.
minority. It said
It didn't say minority.
underserved. It said underserved.
Underserved. There you go.
Uh-huh.
It's too specific.
Yep.
So I want y'all to know they're coming for your civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this, what have you done for me lately, politics, you better pay attention. You better be aware. If they're using an 1866 Civil Rights Act against black women, then you have to know we are cooked if we don't wake the fuck up. Reese Colbert.
You know, I don't know what more it takes. I don't know what big shoe you guys are waiting to drop. It's dropping again and again and again and again. Wake the fuck up already. Like seriously. Hello? And what's so striking about this is the Fearless Fund is not giving out $2 million, $100 million. I mean, I've worked in venture capitalism, and when I was straight out of college doing accounting, I worked for a venture capital firm. What the Fearless Fund is talking about, $20,000 grants, that's a drop in the bucket. Like that was somebody's first class seats round trip. Absolutely. To go meet with an executive. Okay. Like that's it. That's just let's go have a meeting budget. And that's what these grants were. The other side wants us to have nothing. It's not even a matter of, they don't want us to take over. It's not a matter of they don't want us to have more than what we have. They literally want us to have nothing. They don't want a level playing field. They want us tilling the fields. Okay. So when you understand, I use this word a lot, the relentlessness of the white supremacist, white nationalist party, they don't give up. They leave no stone unturned. And they do things like this so that it stifles, you used that word earlier, Clay, it stifles anybody even attempting to do something along those lines. So you're not just attacking this specific fund. What you're doing is you're trying to send a chill throughout our society and saying, this isn't even worth the trouble because the Edward Bloom demon ass is going to come after us. It's the same reason why you have Duke University, for instance, proactively shutting down a scholarship for Black students that had been in place for decades. Nobody sued Duke over that. Duke wasn't on nobody's lawsuit, nobody's radar like that. But that's all shit. Well, let's go ahead and get rid of it now. $1 billion endowment, and they want to get rid of some shit before anybody even asked them to. So this lays the groundwork for people who already didn't want to do shit for us to say, well, let's just get rid of that. Let's just get rid of it because it ain't even worth the trouble. And who's going to check us, boo? Who's going to fight? The same no reparations, no vote, saying we need a black bill. Look at what the Asians got. Where are they right now? Up Edward Bloom ass. Where are they right now on the Fearless Fund? Where are all the people we need black, neon black? Where are y'all at? Because this was a neon black thing that has been shut down by the courts because it was neon black. And we should be, I agree that we should be able to have shit for just black people. I agree with that 100%. You want to know why? Because the white is silent in all the shit that they get. They doesn't have to say white venture capital fund. They get 98% of the funding. So the white is silent. Exactly. But for us, we got to signal to us. But hello, black people with this, we got something for y'all. Come on over here. Come on. Let's try to do something. Let's try to put our money together. Let's rub our pennies together. So I am disgusted by this. It's an extra level of insidiousness to use something that was meant to rectify the subjugation of Black people in our society, to suggest that rectifying subjugation, and it didn't fully do that, but it was attempting to, somehow protects the status quo of white people being the beneficiary of discrimination against Black people. It's not a coincidence that we get 2% of the fund. That's not a coincidence. That's not, well, y'all should just be better. No, the system is designed for them to get everything and for us to get the little scraps. But even the scraps ain't shit enough for us anymore. They don't want us to have nothing. So when we talk about the courts, when we talk about even elected officials, attorneys generals, because it was attorneys generals that shut down the Black farmer stuff, that shut down student debt, that shut down a whole bunch of other shit. Oh, why did they shut down the student debt? Because it disproportionately impacted Black people. That was what the Republican attorneys generals was doing. So when we say this, it's because there are real implications when we are apathetic, when we don't vote our capacity, when we don't exercise our power. This ain't no vote blue no matter who bullshit. It's saying we have to constantly be on guard and do the barest minimum, which is fucking vote and be engaged at the level. And when we don't, then we further empower people like that. It's not our job to save the world, but it is our job to save ourselves, because the cavalry ain't coming for our asses. If anything, they're coming with these tiki torches and these burning crosses for our lawns again. Okay. So if you want to keep the motherfuckers out, then we got to be a lot more proactive. We got to be a lot more engaged, and we have to be a lot more relentless about protecting what we got, the same way they're relentless about taking our shit away. It can happen. It's already happening, and it will get even worse if we don't wake up to the fact that this ain't about no steamies. This ain't even about, who old, whatever the fuck. All that shit. This is literally about our citizenship and our ability to even thrive in this country. Not just survive, but thrive. If you want to just survive and get by, that's fine. Okay, maybe you don't do nothing different. It don't make a difference to you if some Black woman can start a business with $20,000 funded. That don't make a difference to you, fine, because you're just trying to get through the day. You just trying to get some McDonald's for your kids, maybe get some peanut butter and jelly. I understand why this don't resonate with you. But if you at least want to have citizenship, then maybe you should just be a little more concerned about how the other side is organized, well-funded, relentless, determined to take everything that we have